My name is Ryan Crozier, and I'm an American living in Bucharest for about 12 years now. I work with an NGO that supports entrepreneurial leaders that are making a positive impact in the country. And I'm almost 2 meters tall, and I'm a really big guy. So in America, we say I'm built like a teddy bear. I'm extra soft in the middle. I got a big stomach, so I look like a retired American football player, is what we say. Because once they retire, they get out of shape and gain weight and are no longer just muscle. So I'm a big guy, and I've always been big.
Povestește-ne despre categoriile din care consider că faci parte sau ai făcut și cum s-au schimbat pe parcursul vieții.
Growing up as an only child could often feel alone in some circumstances, especially at school where I didn't have a lot of friends and things like that. And also being overweight was the easy thing for people to point out when I was a kid. Kids like to make fun of each other or at least point out differences, and being overweight was definitely a difference. And that's something I also encountered when I came to Romania for the first time. When I was 12 years old, I came over on a volunteer trip with my dad and a group of others from our church to work and volunteer at a nonprofit in Bucharest that was working with kids that were living on the streets. I ended up falling in love with the country. I loved the place. Can definitely say my family and I stood out because my dad was even taller than I am now and bigger than I am now. And so when my family would walk down the street, it was quite the sight, and hundreds of people would stare. And so it was always, let's say, remarkable for people that we stood out. And I think that was something that I encountered that had some negative impact, but also positive. It created a lot of open doors for conversation and meeting new people as well. Another category I'd put myself in is as a husband and father. My family is a true source of inspiration for me and love, and also as a nonprofit leader. It's something that I think is a unique distinctive of mine. It's something I'm really proud of, to be able to have an occupation that allows me to give back and help others brings me a lot of joy.
Completează următoarele propoziții. Pentru că sunt, pentru că am, pentru că fac, oamenii cred că, dar de fapt...
Because I'm an American living in Bucharest, a lot of people think that I'm married to a Romanian. That would be the only logical reason I would want to live here. But the truth is that I really love this country and I choose to live here, and it was my dream since I was a kid. Being overweight, people think I'm lazy or lack self-control. But the truth is that I've worked really hard in life as an entrepreneur and leading a nonprofit. And also I've struggled with my weight since I was a kid. I was much bigger and overweight even at just 4 or 5 years of age. So it's something I've really struggled with, and it's hard for people to really understand just by looking on the outside.
Te-ai simțit vreodată exclus?
I felt excluded as a kid, growing up an only child, and also being overweight. Felt like there was a separation between me and others. I often felt alone or at least independent. I got made fun of a lot because of my size as a kid and got picked on and even beat up a little bit. That always left me feeling like I needed to strive to prove myself worthy of being liked and loved. I think had a lot of impact in my life. Living in Bucharest can often trigger those same feelings of exclusion, not only because our family and friends live in the United States, so there's a separation causing me to feel alone sometimes here, but also because people stare at me quite a lot, and that triggers some of those same feelings of being made fun of or mocked. That is a tension that I continue to live with to this day.
Ai exclus vreodată pe cineva direct sau indirect?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I have excluded people, often unintentionally, from our projects as a nonprofit because we search for leaders every year to join our accelerator from across the country, but primarily we rely on word of mouth and referrals. And I think that really limits our exposure to people and leaders that maybe don't go to the typical networking events or leaders that aren't as active online. And so we're quite limited in our exposure of who we're able to find out about and ask to join our accelerator program. And that's something I think we need to work harder on to try to find people from across the country, but also from different spheres of society and even with different disabilities, be able to participate in our program.
Ce este pentru tine accesibilitate?
I think accessibility is about providing opportunity to the widest range of people to benefit from your services or products.
Ce reprezintă dizabilitatea?
Disability is something that hinders people from doing certain activities or interacting with the world around them.
Care este relația ta cu Bucureștiul?
My relationship with Bucharest, that's a good question. It's like a good enduring relationship. It's gone the test of time. I fell in love at a young age with Bucharest when I was just 12, 13, and yet here I am now over 20 years later, calling it home for the last 12 years, I truly do love it. Like any relationship, even though in the midst of love, there's sometimes things that annoy you or frustrate you or conflicts with the city. And I would say I definitely have experienced my fair share of those. But overall, it's a very good and healthy relationship.
Ce obstacole ai întâmpinat în spațiul public din București?
I've experienced a number of difficulties and obstacles in the public spaces in Bucharest. Being overweight can make it really difficult to get around and just have the stamina to walk long distances, and especially I think of stairs oftentimes in the metro or around the city. They can be really difficult to take stairs, and especially a large amount of them. And when I do, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and I need to find a place to sit and rest. Have been unable to walk long distances at different seasons of my life, and so having good chairs has been sometimes difficult to find in the city. Or if there are benches at parks or things like that, sometimes they're either too weak, not made very well, or there's armrests on them that limit the width of a person's rear end to be able to sit down. And so sometimes that's made it difficult to fully enjoy and just relax in the city.
Care este spațiul tău preferat în București?
My favorite public space in Bucharest has to be Kiselev Park. Has a lot of emotional meaning for me, but it's also just a great park. It feels like a little oasis in the middle of the city. It's got really strong benches and comfortable benches, which I appreciate. But it happens to be the first place we took my son after he was born. We took him for a walk in the park. And so every time we're there, it has special meaning. And I've begun to use the park every weekend for exercise, and it's something my family and I really enjoy.
Ce ți-ai dorit cel mai mult de la București?
For Bucharest, I would love to see this city fulfill the original meaning of the name, City of Joy. Over the years, I've seen people's mentality change, and I think that's a really good thing. If people continue to want to bring and drive change in the city, and also if leaders are willing to truly serve the people, I think this will be the City of Joy once again.
Cât de importantă este implicarea arhitecților în rezolvarea obstacolelor cu care te confrunți?
I think it's critical that architects and designers get involved in solving the problems that myself and many others face. I think as in the creation process of new spaces and even city planning, we need to take into account all types of abilities and disabilities to create a space that's truly inclusive.
Câte un mesaj pentru arhitecți, administrația publică și comunitate.
I encourage architects to see problems as opportunities to be more creative. I encourage public administration to truly find ways to serve people, not necessarily for their own benefit, but to be servants and lead through that. I encourage the community to remain hopeful in the midst of difficult times and circumstances, but also to bring challenge and to speak up and use their voice and use the power that they have.
The UNINVITED, un proiect AMAIS.